Hey there, I'm Lee Ullman here with some big news from the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're partnering with Heritage Radio Network on a special season of The Farm Report. It's all about what's happening with the Farm Bill and how it impacts farmers and eaters.
I am growing diversified vegetables on land that's been in our family for 150 years.
And so with the pandemic, gentrification, property values going up, we had to sell the land and we lost it.
Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind this massive piece of legislation that shapes how we grow our food, what we eat, and so much more.
The problems we have had, those are things that come from earlier Farm Bill and USDA policy, right? Like Earl Butts, get big or get out.
You know, it's my responsibility to know not only what I'm eating, but then like how that all came to be. And realize like, wow, like this piece of legislation, all this money, like it's technically something that I support as a taxpayer.
While Congress debates the next Farm Bill, this is not just an invitation to listen. It's a call to action. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe to the Farm Report on Heritage Radio Network, wherever you listen to podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by Tillet, the style leader in hospitality workwear and hotel and restaurant uniforms. Learn more at tilletnyc.com. Meat and 3 is back. We're kicking off our 4th season and celebrating HRN's 10th anniversary with a very special episode about our home, Brooklyn.
Roberta's was such an interesting place with such a strong gravitational pull. It attracted all these different groups.
The neighborhood has changed a lot over the past decade, from its culinary renaissance to the complicated implications of gentrification.
I would say the majority of the people who are members of our co-op definitely have a certain purchasing power, are mostly white, and we are trying to change that.
We're taking you on a journey that spans the birthplace of food radio to buzzy neighborhood pollinators to the transformative health journey of our borough president.
That was my moment of, wow, someone has thrown me a life raft and I'm going to take it.
Subscribe to Meat and 3, that's MEAT +THREE, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm Luke Griffin, and you're listening to Bushwick Podcast, local stories like you've never heard before. Each week, we take you behind the scenes of the artists, activists, and entrepreneurs whose journeys collide in Bushwick, a special Brooklyn neighborhood that's changing faster by the day. Few industries have accelerated the change here more than real estate. As one of New York's most explosive markets, Bushwick has a real estate scene unlike any other. And the decisions being made here on who lives and works in the neighborhood will reshape Bushwick for generations to come. This week, we sat down with someone working to make that scene a more positive force in the community, if in some unconventional ways.
You know, I have people all the time, especially at night, people coming home from work, and I'll see them, or I'll be standing outside, and they're like, what is this place? What? Well, we do real estate, but we also sell hemp, and but so it's just educating them,
It's Thursday, May 23rd, and this episode is called The Locals Laboratory. Walking down a peaceful block on Cornelia Street toward the bustle of Broadway and the crowd spilling from the Halsey Street J train station, you'll come across one of Bushwick's most intriguing sandwich boards standing there on the sidewalk. The message varies depending on the day, but a recent example reflects the recurring themes nicely. On one side, it reads, "We'll move you in." And on the other side, it concludes, "We'll chill you out." If that sounds puzzling, the storefront behind the sign does little to clarify. It's simply a small office space with a door and a large glass window with a sign reading in a friendly script, "The Locals." This is the shared home of two businesses that would normally have little to do with each other if they didn't share the same founder, a Bushwick entrepreneur named Angela Schipano.
My name is Angela. I am owner and founder of the brokerage, The Locals in Brooklyn, and I am also owner and founder of The Locals Laboratory.
Inside the office space on your left, you'll see a group of young people dressed casually, typing away on computers and chatting among themselves. This is Angela's first business, called The Locals. It's a Brooklyn brokerage, the concept behind which should sound at least somewhat familiar.
Okay, so The Locals, just plain and simple, we're a brokerage. company in Brooklyn. We're located in Bushwick. We rent rooms and apartments all over Brooklyn and then some parts of Queens, mostly like Ridgewood area.
The Locals is very much the we'll move you in side of the sandwich board. The we'll chill you out side lives in the office behind a desk on a stack of shelves lined with big glass jars full of little packages labeled with names like Electra and Special Sauce. Unless you have experience with a certain industry, this second company, called the Locals Laboratory, is probably going to sound a bit strange.
We are a hemp dispensary. We focus on the flower, and you can buy it, by the eighth, and you can also buy pre-rolls. Most recently, we got into the gummies, but the main focus is the flower itself.
Taken together, the Locals and the Locals Laboratory might represent something unique not just in Bushwick, but on the planet. A real estate brokerage that can simultaneously rent you an apartment and sell you pre-rolled joints of smokable hemp. At first blush, it's a bizarre combination, but as Angela will tell you, it's a savvy attempt to leverage some of Bushwick's biggest and most controversial opportunities to affect positive change in the neighborhood. The real estate brokerage, the Locals, is to be sure the more obvious of Angela's two businesses. Residential real estate in Bushwick has been booming since the turn of the new millennium. And after decades of disinvestment, the neighborhood has become one of the biggest markets in New York City. Developers have built and converted dozens of buildings throughout the community, from small multifamily homes to massive apartment complexes with hundreds of units. By the city's latest estimates, Bushwick's population has grown by over 31,000 people, or more than 30%, since the year 2000. But while there may be more housing available than ever, finding a unit to live in is just as challenging as it's always been. Many of Bushwick's new residents are moving to the community for the first time and have little experience with the neighborhood. And longtime Bushwick residents are finding that new units are largely unaffordable. This challenge of finding the right home is where brokers come in.
A broker simply does the deal for the landlord. That plain and simple. So the landlord obviously owns the property, and our job is to rent or sell the property.
In other words, while a landlord owns a building that they want to rent or sell, a broker finds the people who will lease or buy it. As Angela puts it, they're the matchmakers of the real estate world. For much of her career, Angela had little interest in matchmaking or, for that matter, real estate. She worked for a major sneaker manufacturer for 13 years, eventually ending up in the corporate office doing retail design. But that all changed when she wanted to explore opening a business of her own, and a friend approached her with an opportunity to make some money on the side.
It was a funny summer gig. Like, a friend of mine got a brokerage in Boston and just said, hey, I can really use your help. You'd be really good at this. And it was the summer that I left Nike and I was opening another business. So it was kind of like, she's like, no, really, come do it. You're going to love it. You'll make good money. It'll be perfect.
Angela found that for something that began as a bit of a lark, real estate was fun, and she was good at it. So, eager to move on from corporate America and explore an opportunity to become her own boss, she threw herself into brokering full time. I
was like, why not? Why wouldn't I be a broker? Well, then there's companies like this company and that company that are huge. You never say never, But I'm also not trying to be this company or that company. I'm trying to do my own thing, and what I'm doing, I'm happy with and I'm content with, and that's really all that matters. And I do love being a broker. I love spending time with my team and training people and, getting them to learn and do different things. And I just love being a part of everything that's going on in Brooklyn right now.
Angela is a consummate host, someone who thrives on the energy of meeting new people. Being a broker was an opportunity to be of service at the same time.
I just find it interesting, learning about these people, where they came from and why they're here, why they're even in New York, and then you're finding them a home, which is something a little bit more intimate. Like, this is their home, this is where they're going to spend their time. So, I don't know, it's a different gratification that you get. It's a feel-good thing, And if you like to talk to people and be around different people, then why not?
Angela worked as a broker under other people for the better part of 8 years before deciding in 2017 to open her own office here in Bushwick. She'd been living in the neighborhood for years and saw just how much opportunity there was for a good broker in the community.
I just saw a lot of potential in Bushwick, and obviously being in real estate, you want to be where there's potential and where people are moving in and out and things are changing. You know, it's the best place to be, right? If you want things to be lucrative. There's my neighbor.
But as lucrative as the market possibilities may have seemed, Angela saw the opportunity to be a positive force in the community, a better kind of broker. Though she didn't anticipate that that would eventually include selling hemp. You've probably heard some of the recent buzz around hemp. It's been in the news a lot lately after the plant was legalized across the country late last year. If you're unfamiliar, hemp is a strain of the plant species Cannabis sativa, which you might know from another famous strain, marijuana. Unlike marijuana, hemp contains negligible amounts of THC, the compound that gets you high. But it does contain high levels of another compound called CBD. While research is scarce, many people claim that CBD has healing and restorative properties that can be used to treat everything from anxiety to muscle pain. But beyond any physiological effects, hemp is also just an incredibly functional plant and can be used to make everything from clothing to insulation to a nutritious hemp milk.
Years ago, Washington grew hemp, and then now they have hemp bricks and that can build houses and save you so much money. And the other thing is that these plants, in 3 to 4 months, they can grow an entire crop that's useful to, build a house, which is insane. Because every single part, we could sit here for hours and dissect this, but every single part of the actual plant is useful in some way, shape, or form.
For all of hemp's possible uses, Angela was surprised to find, on a trip to visit her aunt in South Carolina, that people were smoking the plant as well.
I went to visit my aunt down in South Carolina, and I saw it on the shelf, and I was like, what is this? How can you sell it? It's not legal down here. And same kind of thing people come say at our shop, And they're like, oh, no, it's hemp. And I'm like, what? Like, oh, yeah, it's going to relax you, calm you. And so we got a few of them, and I tried it, and I was like, whoa.
Angela tried it and was immediately struck by the positive way it made her feel.
We're not used to feeling that good, unfortunately, and that's a crazy thing to say, but I tell them, no, it's just euphoric, you just feel really good. And we're not used to that really good feeling all the time, so you think you're high, but you're not.
She knew that she wanted to share that feeling with people back in New York, and within just 1 month of her visit to South Carolina, she contacted farmers around the country to source her own hemp master growers and set up a wholesale supply chain to begin selling hemp here in Bushwick.
It was literally a month after I visited my aunt in South Carolina, tried it for the first time, and was like, wow, more people need to know about this. I started doing some research. I started reaching out to farms and the growers and trying different stuff.
It was a swift and, to say the least, unexpected jump from enthusiast to retailer. But as Angela explains it, she's the type of person who doesn't shy away from taking chances on things she believes in. And she saw a clear opportunity to provide a valuable new service for the kinds of people she was already working with. Overstressed New Yorkers who could use something to help them relax.
Everyone here is working, they're busy, they're doing, 10 things at once, or it's a nice relaxation. And it's not alcohol, so it's not gonna, slow you down in any way. And, it's also not marijuana, gonna slow you down anyway, or alter your mind too much where you're going to sleep or something like that. You can function on this stuff, you can function and you can get things done, sometimes even more things. And in New York City, I feel like almost everybody needs that. Everybody needs that little boost. And aside from that, all the other healing properties and good things that it can do for your body, for your skin, for everything, it's like, why not?
So, late last year, the Locals Laboratory was born and installed behind the front desk of the Locals office storefront. Most people wouldn't expect to shop for hemp while renting an apartment, but Angela says that from the beginning, customers at the Locals and the Locals Laboratory have organically overlapped.
We have people that see the sign outside and they'll come in, and then we're like, are you here for the CBD, or are you here for a room or an apartment. Wait, what? Well, actually, I do need an apartment, but I saw the CBD. So yeah, it does overlap, but it's also brought in, it's brought in a lot of the locals, which is kind of cool.
Beyond buyers who cross over from the rental operation, the Locals Laboratory is seeing a huge range of hemp-first customers from around the neighborhood and across the borough.
We have an 87-year-old woman that comes once a week, and she buys her 2 pre-rolls, and she swears we added 10 years to her life, and then we also have the young professional that also is an artist on the side, and he DJs on the weekends, and he just needs that middle ground to chill and relax, but he still needs to get stuff done. So, that's why it works for him.
As enthusiastic as Angela may be about the benefits of hemp, she strives to make her shop as accessible and tasteful as possible. Because while hemp derivatives like CBD oil have started to break into the mainstream, for many people, hemp is surrounded by a lingering stigma. And when even conscientious retailers like the Locals Laboratory sell products with names like Hawaiian Haze, you can understand how people might be confused.
I mean, to look at it directly, it looks like marijuana. But it's not. I'm here to tell you that it's completely legal. Because we have people every single day like, are you guys selling weed? No, we're not selling weed. It is hemp.
If the numbers are any indication, Angela and the team are certainly onto something with their early customers.
Our return rate now is 98.87%. I looked that up last night. And so people like it, it works for them.
As more people in Bushwick explore hemp, Angela sees the Locals Laboratory as a space to help catalyze a more progressive dialogue around the plant and its benefits.
It's just important to educate people. I mean, all the way around, it's just important to educate people. We had one older couple that thought that we were selling marijuana, and, I just slightly overheard their conversation. I was parking my car. They didn't even know I was going to the office or anything, and I overheard them, oh, now they're selling weed on the block, and how can they do that? And, and I let them have their conversation, and then I said, are you guys talking about that place over there? And, just kind of played stupid, and then I just let them know what it was and brought them back. I actually gave them a sample, and now her husband comes and gets it all the time from us.
Whether talking about hemp or real estate, Angela seems to believe that a foundation of communication and mutual respect can have a meaningful, positive impact on her businesses and the community at large. But what's the role of a hemp-selling real estate brokerage in Bushwick's dynamic future? After the break, Angela looks ahead.
This episode is brought to you by Tillet, the style leader in hotel and restaurant uniforms. Tillet is redefining workwear for the hospitality industry, ensuring that you and your team feel great from stove to street. Tillet is a full line of workwear clothing from pants to work shirts, chef aprons, jackets, dresses, chef coats, and more, with over 95% of their garments produced in the USA. Each hotel and chefwear collection is timed with the seasons, comprised of exceptional functional fabrics and built to last. Custom uniforms can be tailored for your restaurant, hotel, or store. Learn more at tillitnyc.com. That's TILITNYC.com.
Are you enjoying this podcast? Heritage Radio Network has plenty more. My name is Corsha Wilson, and I'm the host of A Hungry Society here on HRN. A Hungry Society focuses on highlighting dope people doing amazing work in food, and we talk about how we can make the culinary world a more diverse and inclusive space. You can join the conversation by checking out A Hungry Society wherever you listen to podcasts and on heritageradionetwork.org.
In communities like Bushwick, being a real estate broker also means being something of a gatekeeper. As the matchmakers filling the empty apartments rising across the neighborhood, brokers play a big role in shaping the spirit of the community. And increasingly, the brokers here look a lot like Angela, young people who are fairly new to Brooklyn. But as Angela grows her businesses, she's doing so with an eye toward opening the neighborhood to a new community of transplants while preserving the diverse, accessible Bushwick that she fell in love with when she first moved here.
Just taking the J train all the way down Broadway and just watching the different people, I just thought it's amazing. It's amazing how so many different people live here, and even at that time, which I've now lived here technically for 4 years. Even at that time, you know, people, it just amazed me.
It's this duality of Bushwick's rapidly growing next generation and its rich, long-standing communities that inspired the name The Locals in the first place.
To me, the new era of locals is, you know, all the young professionals that have come here, not just to live and work or live and have an internship and go, but that have moved here. They've embraced Brooklyn. They love it. They love the change. You know, they're starting families here. They're starting businesses here. And to me, that's the new era of locals. But on the flip side, it's also embracing the ones that are still here and respecting them and learning from them, you know, educating yourself about the area and what it used to be from them, because that can only make, you know, the new era of locals better.
Angela can sound at times idealistic, but being a broker and a business owner in Bushwick today means working in a world where the new residents coming into the neighborhood might be displacing more long-standing communities.
Nobody wants to think about anybody being displaced. You know, some brokers maybe could care less about something like that. It's their focus is that dollar and that's what they want to do. You know, being the locals, and just one thing that I've always done is embrace the locals. You know, Bushwick is Bushwick, and I'm here because of that for a lot of reasons, you know. I know the person next door that's lived here for 50 years, and I know their whole story.
With The Locals, Angela is working toward a more inclusive framework for how new real estate and new communities can integrate into the neighborhood. The core of her stance is simple.
I just like to embrace the ones that are still here, and I think most importantly out of anything is respect.
Angela encourages her staff and her clients to make an effort to become engaged and respectful members of the communities that they're joining.
I just think embrace them. You know, I always tell, even my clients, I always tell them, like, say hello to your neighbors. You know, they've been here forever. Respect them. Say hi, how you doing? Pick your head up out of your phone and, you know, just look at the world around you that you're living in. You know, it doesn't have to be just a walk to the train and back. There's a lot going on here that, you know, if people would embrace, their lives would be a lot different.
Ultimately, Angela feels a responsibility to do right by both her clients and her community. With both The Locals and The Locals Laboratory, Angela frames her work in terms of honoring and empowering the people who've made their communities what they are today.
There's always some guy that sits on a stoop, or, you know, this lady that you see her cleaning up the street, and I always get to know them first. When I'm going to look at the properties, I say hello to everybody. How you doing? You know, I'm renting this building here or this apartment. And I do feel a responsibility, almost like that they take care of Brooklyn, you know, that they take care of their new place, and they also respect and take care of the street that they're on and the people that are around. I touched on this a little bit before, but, you know, it is a responsibility. It's just, I guess, where I come from and how I was brought up. I was always taught, like, you know, you respect the janitor just as well as you do the CEO of a company. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter.
Whether selling hemp in a neighborhood with a history of racialized drug narratives, or renting apartments in a community that's becoming less livable for its long-standing residents, Angela seems to believe in the enduring power of communication and personal connection to solve some of her industry's greatest challenges.
Come visit us. Come chat with us. Like, I want to show you, you know what I mean? And that's what I say about everything. Pretty much everything that I do, you know. Let's sit down, let's talk about it, you know. Come say hello, come look at it, come smell it, come learn what it is as far as the hemp goes. And as far as the real estate goes, you know, I'm trying. I'm trying to help those that may not have the money or the credit or the income. There's limitations, obviously, with the landlords that you work with, because I do, at the end of the day, work for the landlord.
While she feels that her hands are in some ways tied as a broker, Angela's working hard to explore how she can help Bushwick's growth be more constructive.
It's also important that, you know, we're not seen as a brokerage that doesn't want to help people or doesn't want to. So as a side note, I've done my own research in trying to work with the city to find apartments for, you know, people, whether they have assistants or they're older or whatever the case is. So yeah, if anyone has any concern, just come visit us. I think we can help them with any concerns that they have. Actually, I know.
You get the sense that broadly, Angela is working towards something more. A more respectful brokerage, a more helpful dispensary, and a more positive impact for her businesses.
I want clients to feel like, they're renting an apartment from their best friend or their brother or sister, just have a good time. The renting an apartment can be very stressful, and I've talked to clients that have been through crazy situations, and it sucks for them. It sucks that they've been through that situation, but I always can feel good, and I can say this with confidence, that you made it to us, and, it might be sort of bragging rights, but I don't care.
At the end of the day, it's about helping to support a stronger community.
It's not just sign a lease and walk away. So for me, in growing the locals, I'd like to grow the locals on a reputation. And that reputation, that we take care of. We bring you in and we make you one of the locals, essentially. And we're there. You can come hang out, you can come chill at the office, relax, and then on the hemp side and, the locals laboratory, who knows? It's, like I say, it's a learning thing every day, but it's a fun learning thing. It's something cool to learn about that. Oh yeah, it does this, it does that. So for that, it's really just educating people and, kind of rolling with the punches as these different things come out and different companies come out. But yeah, just as the locals in general and the locals, the brand, for me, it's moving forward the right way and with reputation. That's what it's about. And embracing, the locals that have been here their entire lives, but also, teaching and educating the new locals coming in to also embrace and, just make for a better Brooklyn in general.
If you're interested in learning more about the locals and the real estate side of things, you can visit their website at thelocalsbrooklyn.com and follow them on Instagram at thelocalsbrooklyn. But if hemp is what you're looking for, you can find out more about the Locals Laboratory at thelocalslaboratory.com or on Instagram at thelocalslab. We've got all this information and more in our show notes for this week's episode. We'd like to extend our sincere thanks to Angela, Merle, and the rest of the Locals crew. And as always, we'd also like to thank you for listening this week. If you enjoy Bushwick Podcast, you can do us a huge favor by telling a friend, or even by leaving us a review on iTunes, which helps us reach even more new listeners. We'll be back next week with another story you won't want to miss. In the meantime, if you have any questions, comments, or want to get involved, send us an email to hello@hearbushwick.com. Or you can always DM us on our Instagram page at Bushwick Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content and to learn more about our 10-year anniversary celebration happening all year long, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at heritage_radio. You can also find us at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the food world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be part of the food world's most innovative community? Subscribe to the shows you like, tell your friends, and please join the HRN family by becoming a member. Just click on the heart at the top right of our homepage. Thank you for listening.